Hey YouTubers, today I'm going to discuss how to get started with the Dexter GoPiGo video streaming robot. This project allows you to easily stream video from the robot to a browser and to control the robot by a touchscreen or by a mouse attached to a laptop. The project instructions were pretty straightforward, but I did have a couple really tough problems that turned out to have simple solutions, so I thought I would explain them to you guys to save you the trouble. The picture's worth 1,000 words. We'll be following the instructions on this Dexter project page. I'll include the link in the description below. So to start with the video streaming project, you're expected to have a fully assembled GoPiGo with a Raspberry Pi and a camera installed. The GoPiGo should have an SD card with Raspbian for Robots installed if you're using a Raspberry Pi 3. I'm using Raspberry Pi 4 because I have a project coming up with some memory-intensive object detection and voice recognition, so I have to use the Raspbian experimental version, but it seems to work fine. And you should have your Wi-Fi set up by now too. And you'll need a camera, obviously. If you don't have a camera installed and you want to follow along with this tutorial, you'll want to go back and install the camera at this time. So at this time all of our prerequisites are taken care of, so it's time to power up and set up. So we have the battery power, the USB power, and ignore my servo motor there, the yellow and black and red wires for a servo and grippers in the front that I've got set up for another project. So we do our Ethernet. Actually, you don't need Ethernet, come to think of it. You should have your Wi-Fi set up already. And we press the power button and we're all set. Okay, since we set up Wi-Fi already, we can log into the Pi using dex.local. We'll go in via the VNC server. The GoPiGo3 folder is the one we want, and that's conveniently on the desktop. So we open that one, and we're looking for projects and remote camera robot. Let's go up a level to projects. And remote camera robot, right click and open in terminal. Now's a good time to update the system if we haven't already, so we do our sudo apt-get update to update the package database, and sudo apt-get dist upgrade to actually upgrade the packages. This will take a while depending on your system configuration. Mine took 12 minutes, so we'll speed this up a little bit. And you'll see I have an error there. I think it's specific to my Raspberry Pi 4, so we're going to ignore that for now. Next we have to do this batch install. That's actually in a different folder, so we'll go there now. I like to use File Manager to navigate around, so we'll go up to the desktop and to the GoPiGo folder, open that one, and go to the install folder. Open in terminal, and we'll type in that install sh here. Next we should reboot the Pi, but I was going from memory and I skipped this step, so let's see if that matters. You should reboot here if you're following along. Next we want to run this install startup script, which is actually back in our remote camera project folder, so we'll go back to our other terminal session and run it there. And I noticed that the Python idle debugger was missing from my programming menu, so I'll go ahead and install right now. I'll reinstall Python and idle just to make sure we have the latest for programming later. And forgot the apt-get. Gotta be careful, Jim. Sudo apt-get install. And now's a good time to set a couple of configuration options that I forgot to do earlier. So we do sudo raspi-config, go to advanced options. The First one, expand file system, to take advantage of the entire SD card. And I want to set my screen resolution. And now we can reboot. And you'll see, because we ran the install startup script, I can type in my Wi-Fi address :5000, and you can see the stream. The video streaming has started automatically, and the robot's ready to accept commands. So now we'll log into our Pi desktop. And by the way, this GoPiGo control panel is a good quick way to make sure that your Pi is up and running. And it's got these convenient functions for calibrating the motor speed. I didn't set up cinch. Everything's working without it, so I skipped that step. And since we ran install startup to start the server on boot, we won't need to start it manually, so we'll skip this step too. Actually, I couldn't find flask server.py anywhere on the machine. But it's okay, we did fine without it. As we saw earlier, we accessed the stream by browsing to dex.local, port 5000, on any machine that's on the same network as the Pi. So back to the demo. Here's me controlling the robot from upstairs and running it into a wall. And then backing up to save the day. And here we're running it from an iPad. And the phone works just as well. So that's how we set up the project. If you want to know more about how it works in order to change it or to know how to shut it down, there's a couple of files we can look at. I'll open those up now. The first one is the install startup script that we ran earlier in the remote camera robot folder. This script copies the camera robot service to etc systemd system so that it's available every time we reboot the Pi. And then we enable it down below so that it actually starts every time we boot the Pi. To stop that from happening in the future, you'd want to go to a command line and type in this disable command. Next, to see what the service actually does, we'll go open it. So here we see the service starts Python and the remote robot Python program. In case you want to learn how that program works or learn how to change it, we'll navigate over there to take a quick look at it. Just a few highlights. Here we import the easy GoPiGo3 library for controlling the robot. And here we import the standard Pi camera library for interacting with the camera. Scrolling down further, we create the GoPiGo instance. And here we process the speed and distance commands as the user interacts with the browser. And here we have the handlers for all the different joystick angles. So there's backward, 90 degrees to 260, 0 to 90, and 280 to 360. And here we create the camera instance and begin streaming. And finally, the loop that keeps the program alive waiting for user input. So that concludes our discussion of the GoPiGo video streaming robot getting started. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments section below. And thanks for watching.